World War II, a global conflict that marked the mid-20th century, didn't just appear out of nowhere. Indeed, the seeds of this monumental conflict were sown in the ashes of the Great War, with the signing of the Treaty of Versailles in 1919. This treaty, meant to ensure peace, ironically laid the groundwork for another global conflict. It placed the blame for World War I squarely on Germany, saddling the nation with crippling reparations and territorial losses. This humiliation and economic strain fueled resentment, creating fertile ground for the rise of extremist ideologies. Meanwhile, in sunny Italy, an ambitious political movement was taking root. Benito Mussolini and his fascist party promised stability and national pride in the face of social unrest and economic hardship. With a charismatic leader at the helm, Italy was soon swayed by the allure of fascism, setting a precedent for authoritarian regimes across the continent. Back in Germany, another charismatic figure was on the rise. Adolf Hitler and his National Socialist German Workers' Party, or Nazi Party, capitalized on the resentment resulting from the Treaty of Versailles. Hitler promised to restore Germany to its former glory, and his message resonated with the German people who were desperate for change after years of hardship. As Hitler consolidated power, he began to test the limits of the international community. The policy of appeasement, primarily pursued by Britain and France, allowed Hitler to annex Austria and the Sudetenland region of Czechoslovakia without facing military intervention. This policy, however, only emboldened Hitler further. His final act of aggression before the war was the invasion of Poland in 1939. And so in 1939, the world spiraled into war yet again. The stage was set, the actors were in place, and the curtains were drawn back for the second act of this global tragedy, World War II. From the invasion of Poland, the war quickly spread across the globe. The year 1939 witnessed a world in chaos as the flames of conflict reached far and wide. To the west, France, a bastion of liberty and a symbol of strength, was next to fall. The blitzkrieg tactics of the German war machine proved too much to withstand, and in a matter of weeks, the French capitulated. Simultaneously across the English Channel, the Battle of Britain raged on. The Royal Air Force, standing as the last line of defence against the onslaught of the Luftwaffe, fought tooth and nail for their homeland. Their courage and resilience in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds became a beacon of hope in the darkest of times. But the war was not confined to Europe. To the east, the vast expanse of the USSR was drawn into the fray. The German invasion, known as Operation Barbarossa, was an audacious attempt to seize control of the Russian heartland. The Soviets, though taken by surprise, fought back fiercely, igniting the Eastern Front's brutal and bitter warfare. Meanwhile, halfway across the world, the silence of a peaceful Sunday morning in Hawaii was shattered by the roar of Japanese fighter planes. The attack on Pearl Harbor, a bolt from the blue, jolted the United States out of its neutrality. It marked the beginning of America's involvement in the war, a move that would fundamentally shift the balance of power. During this turbulent period, alliances were formed and solidified. The Allies, comprising mainly of the United Kingdom, the Soviet Union, China, and later the United States, stood united against the Axis powers, Germany, Italy, and Japan. These alliances were not just strategic in nature, but also a testament to the shared values and common goals of the nations involved. With the entry of the United States in 1941, the scale of the war escalated to new heights. The stage was set for a global conflict that would redefine the course of human history. By 1942, the Axis powers seemed unstoppable, but the tide was about to turn. As the calendar turned to 1942, the world held its breath. The Axis powers, led by Germany, Italy, and Japan, appeared invincible. Yet beneath the surface, the tide of the war was beginning to shift. Three pivotal events would play a crucial role in changing the course of World War II. First, let's turn our attention to the bitter cold of Stalingrad. Here, the Soviet Union and Germany clashed in one of the bloodiest battles in history. The Battle of Stalingrad, lasting from August 1942 to February 1943, was a brutal struggle for control of a city that held great strategic and symbolic value. The eventual victory of the Red Army marked the first major defeat of Hitler's forces and signaled a turning point on the Eastern Front. Meanwhile, halfway across the world, the Pacific Ocean was the stage for another decisive confrontation. The Battle of Midway, fought in June 1942, saw the American Navy deliver a crushing blow to the Japanese fleet. This victory halted the Japanese advance across the Pacific. And for the first time since the start of the war, the tide seemed to be turning in favor of the Allies. The final pivotal event of 1942 came with the Allied invasion of Italy. After successfully toppling the fascist regime of Benito Mussolini, the Allies established a foothold in mainland Europe. This was a significant step towards the eventual liberation of Europe from Nazi control. Each of these events, in their own way, tipped the balance of the war. The Battle of Stalingrad showed the world that the seemingly invincible German army could be defeated. The Battle of Midway put a halt to the Japanese expansion in the Pacific. The Allied invasion of Italy marked the beginning of the end for the Axis powers in Europe. These victories marked a significant shift in momentum, setting the stage for the final phase of the war. 1944 saw the beginning of the end for the Axis powers. As the winds of war shifted, the D-Day invasion became a pivotal chapter in this global conflict. The Allies stormed the beaches of Normandy on June 6, 1944, in what would be one of the largest amphibious military assaults in history. This audacious operation marked a significant turning point, setting the stage for the eventual downfall of Nazi Germany. As the tide turned, the fall of Berlin was imminent. The city, once a symbol of Nazi power and authority, was under siege. Allied forces relentlessly pushed forward, and by May 1945, Berlin was in ruins. The city's fall marked the end of Hitler's reign and the collapse of the Third Reich. The war in Europe had reached its climax. Yet, across the globe, the Pacific theatre was still ablaze. The war with Japan raged on, leading to one of the most controversial decisions in history. The United States, in an effort to expedite the end of the war and avert a costly invasion, dropped atomic bombs on the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. The devastation was unimaginable, the human cost immeasurable. The world had entered the nuclear age, and warfare would never be the same. In the wake of these cataclysmic events, the surrender of the Axis powers was inevitable. Germany capitulated in May, signing an unconditional surrender that marked the end of the war in Europe. Japan followed suit in September, signing their surrender aboard the USS Missouri. The guns fell silent, the smoke began to clear, and the world took its first breaths of peace. On September 2nd, 1945, World War II officially ended, but its impact was far from over. The war had changed the world in profound and irrevocable ways. The aftermath would shape the remainder of the 20th century, and its echoes can still be heard today. The world had witnessed the best and worst of humanity, and it was forever marked by the scars of this monumental conflict. World War II left an indelible mark on the world. The conflict's conclusion heralded a new era of global relations, shifting political landscapes and unprecedented human endeavor. In the immediate aftermath of the war, nations banded together to form a new international body, the United Nations, with a shared vision of peace, cooperation, and human rights. This union was designed to prevent another global conflict, to foster international cooperation, and to promote social progress, better living standards, and human rights. Yet beneath the surface of this newfound unity, tensions were simmering. The world had been divided into two new spheres of influence, led by the United States and the Soviet Union. This ideological divide between capitalism and communism set the stage for the Cold War, a period of geopolitical tension that would last for over 4 decades. Meanwhile, the end of World War II also accelerated the decolonization process in Asia and Africa. European powers, weakened by the war, could no longer maintain their colonial control, leading to a wave of independence movements. Countries like India, Indonesia, Algeria, and many others emerged from the shadows of colonial rule, reshaping the world map and the balance of power. But amidst these shifting geopolitical landscapes, we must not forget the human cost of World War II. Over 70 million lives were lost, countless families torn apart, cities reduced to rubble. The sheer scale of devastation served as a stark reminder of the horrors of war, catalyzing efforts towards peace and reconciliation. The legacy of World War II is more than just a chapter in history books. It's an enduring imprint on global politics, an echo of a past that shapes our present. It was a time of immense destruction, but also of profound change and human resilience. World War II may have ended, but its echoes can still be heard in the world today.